Welcome to the December the 10th, 1991 taping of It's Happening in Grand Prairie. And oh, we have such an exciting show for you today. First of all, before we bring our first guest, we have some community service announcements. The Chamber of Commerce has scheduled a card connection. And this is a very important meeting, and it's December the 12th, and it's going to be at the Pavilion, and that's at the DFW Medical Center from 5 p.m. until 7 p.m. If you need further information about this card exchange, which is a networking with other members of the Chamber of Commerce, please call 264-1558. Also, the Grand Prairie Christmas Walk and the Christmas Jubilee. The Christmas Walk begins December the 13th and the 14th. The timing of this is 6:30 p.m. until 9 p.m. However, on December the 13th, this is the Christmas Jubilee sponsored by the Grand Prairie Historical Organization at the Copeland Home Museum at 125 Southwest Dallas Street. The timing of this will be from 10:30 a.m. until 3 p.m. and you're going to get to have cider and cookies and really enjoy all of the memorabilia at the Copeland Home on this December the 13th. And now to a very special guest, because it's the birthday of something very special to us in the United States of America. Today we have Jean Rowe, who is the regent of the Texas Bluebonnet chapter of the Daughters of the American Revolution. Welcome, Regent.
Thank you, Ruthie.
Thank you very much, Regent Rowe. We're glad to have you with us today in this very special celebration. And would you look out into your camera and tell us a little bit about what you all are doing at the DAR as far as the Bill of Rights is concerned?
Well, first, Regent is just the complimentary name for the president of the local organization of the DAR. This has been a wonderful year of celebration for the DAR because it is our century. The DAR was started in 1890, so we have culminated a 1991. But especially for the Bill of Rights in our local organization, on last Saturday we had our chapter birthday. This is 23 years that the Texas Bluebonnet chapter has been a part of Grand Prairie. And we had our birthday party at the home of Mary Caswell's. And Mrs. Verna Waddell, who is our local chairman for the bicentennial, read the proclamation or the resolution that the DAR set forth for their members in encouraging us to commemorate the bicentennial of the Constitution and the Bill of Rights.
That's wonderful. All right, and you just have celebrated very, very big in the DAR. I'd like for you to, if there's anything you'd like to read in the Bill of Rights or leave to the public today before I ask you some questions personally about your career, would you do that at this time?
Well, you know, the Constitution was written it was ratified in 1789. And at the time, there was no specific personal rights guaranteed to the small people. Now, one of the critics at the time said, well, the lawyers understood that many of those rights were implied. But remember, we were not a nation of elite, of educated, of lords and ladies and lawyers, and we were common people. Our immigrants were the indentured servants and the dirt farmers and the people that had come to make a new start. And government was long ago and far away to a lot of them, and so they wanted something specific written for them in simple language that they could read. And so that's why the Bill of Rights came about. And we know there were 10 articles of the Bill of Rights, but really when James Madison wrote them, there were 12. But the other two were really technical and legal and implied, and they got lost. And I think maybe it's better because the 10 is kind of a magic number.
Yes.
To most of us, or to many people in the press and people in television, things like that, the First Amendment is most probably the one that we're the most conscious of. But basically, they are the thing that really has held the fabric of American life together, and it is the foundation for the society that we've developed that we can set as a world example.
Wonderful. All right, is there something you'd like to read from the Bill of Rights or any portion of that?
Well, I told most of it, but you know that Chief Justice Warren Burger thought it was so important to bring to people's attention the bicentennial of the Constitution and the Bill of Rights, that he gave up his post on the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court's main duty, you know, is interpretation of the Bill of Rights, to bring forward to the American people just how important the Bill of Rights was in their protections for each and every person.
I noticed that he has done a speech and a paper on the reflections on our Constitution and Bill of Rights. Were you there by any chance to hear this magic speech?
This was the 100th anniversary celebration of the National Convention of the Daughters of the American Revolution last April. We meet in April every year because that is significant to Daughters of the American Revolution, because that's when the revolution started in April. We meet the week of April the 17th, 18th, 19th in that area. And he was what we call the National Defense Speaker. The National Defense arm of the DAR education is that brings the political and the security and the things of that nature to, that brings the message to the forefront.
Now you have a magic date, and I know you're going to want to name drop that and ask everyone in Grand Prairie, Texas, maybe to fly their flag on that particular day.
Yes.
All right.
Next Sunday, the December the 15th, is the anniversary of the Bill of Rights. And if you didn't see a procedure to fly your flag or ring your bell, that's the official birthday, and it is the official culmination of the 4-year celebration for the Constitution. And it's next Sunday, December the 15th.
And I believe you're due to be at the City Council this evening
tonight
to receive a proclamation.
Receive the official proclamation.
And maybe re-announce this about all of these good things.
And another interesting thing, or an exciting thing about the Bill of Rights celebration for the Daughters of American Revolution in the Dallas area, on Friday, Honorary President General Sarah King. Now, the Honorary President Generals of the Daughters of the American Revolution are the people who have already been President General or the National Presiding Officer, and she is the chairman for the national organization, and she's going to be speaking at a luncheon at one of the country clubs in Dallas. I'm not driving that day, so I don't remember which one it is, but the James Campbell chapter of the DAR is sponsoring this luncheon, but it's open to all of the DAR members.
Well, we're so proud of you and all of the members of the DAR for the wonderful patriotic and good citizenship and all of the essays that are written in behalf of the United States of America and its history. But we have just about 5 more minutes. I'd like to talk a little bit about the Jean Rowe, who is very important to Grand Prairie, an educator, a retired librarian par excellence. Tell us when you came to Grand Prairie, Texas.
Well, we came to Grand Prairie when they plowed up that cotton field out south of Indian Hills and built those little GI houses in 1952.
1952.
And we moved into the second one that was available on Shawnee. And we had 2 little girls. And
would you name your husband and your 2 little girls? Because they're both Gophers, and we've got to get them on the historical record.
My husband's name is Verl, and it's spelled funny, but it sounded like Earl. And he worked in the aircraft business all of his industry time. He worked at Chance Vaught and Timco, and finally ended his career at Texas Instruments.
Okay.
Our daughters are Evelyn and Mary Margaret, that we called Margie when she was growing up, but now that she's grown up and professional, she's called Margaret. And they both went to Grand Prairie schools, to Grand Prairie High School, and Evelyn went to North Texas, and Margie went to East Texas, and then a few years ago she decided she wanted to be a nurse, so she finished a nursing career. She started a nursing career 2 years ago.
All right, do you have any grandchildren you'd like to name drop?
And we have 2. Valerie is 12. She's in 7th grade at Trinity Valley Prep School in Fort Worth. And Amy is in the 5th grade at Southwest Christian in Fort Worth.
And when did you begin your teaching career here in Grand Prairie, Texas, and what did you do and where were the campuses?
Well, the first thing I did was, and this is so long ago that we don't like to remember, I did my student teaching at Jefferson, and I believe it was 1955, with Hobbs Williams, and he was a coach. That was his first year in Grand Prairie, and he taught math. And I was in his class half of the day, and I was in Johnny Hill's class the other half of the day. And then I taught in Dallas for several years, and when a job in the library came open, I came to Lee in 1960.
And how long were you at Lee Middle School?
And I was there in the same capacity, not in the same room, for 27 years. 2 generations of students.
2 generations of students, and that is true. And the year of your magic retirement?
1988.
1988.
This is the third. This is the third time I didn't go back to school when school started.
And other than DAR, what is Jean Rowe doing with her life in 1 minute right now?
Oh dear. I volunteer sometimes when I don't have really good sense. No, I still work with children. I work through garden clubs and Dallas Parks and Recreation. And today we're going to do a bird's Christmas tree is what we're going to do today. And I make porcelain dolls. Yes. And I genealogy. And I teach an adult women's Sunday school class. I share a class with,
where is this?
At First Baptist Church.
First
I
Baptist.
share a class with Mrs. Bob White. We teach on alternate Sundays, and that really works out good. Yes. And I still do crafts, and in addition to all of this, I am the chairman of the Dallas Area Daughters of the American Revolution Regents Council. That's representatives from 17 area groups, and we've just decorated Millermore, and it will be open again this weekend for their candlelight tours. Millermore is the restored mansion in Old City Park in Dallas. I guess I could say that.
Yes, you could. Jean Rowe, it's been delightful to have you with us today as the regent of the Texas Bluebonnet chapter of the DAR in Grand Prairie, Texas. Also, a special salute to your group for commemorating the Bill of Rights, and especially for bringing it to the City Council's attention, which will bring it to the general public that watch our council meetings. I want to thank you for all of the good things you've done for kids as a librarian.
Thank you.
Thank you for being on the show today.
Thank you.
And we'll be right back.
Truck. Got your honey bun beside you, man, you're feeling tough. Got a can in your hand, drink it on down. Throw it out the window, whoop, hits the ground. You got a lot in common with that piece of trash. If you throw it on the highway, you ain't got no class. Don't you mess with Texas. Don't you mess with Texas. Buddy, you messing with me. Woo!
Before bringing you our next guest, who is brand new to Grand Prairie, Texas, we have some community service announcements. If you have a piece of paper and pencil, you may want to make a note of these. The Grand Prairie Independent School District is having their board meeting, and it's always on the second Thursday of the month. 7:00 p.m. at 202 College Street in downtown Grand Prairie. December the 12th is the magic date. Remember the time, 7:00 p.m., and this is open to the public. Also, congratulations to the Happy Helping Hands. That group has come together with several of the other community service groups in Grand Prairie, Texas, including the United Charities and the food pantry that is located generally at St. John's Lutheran Church. It's wonderful that they have a new building, and we're going to have Marguerite Patton and have them on the show pretty soon to let you know about all of this happenings for Grand Prairie, Texas. And it's wonderful that they're getting together in this fashion. Remember the Grand Prairie Community Services at 307 South Center Street. Their magic number is 264-4025. The People at Care Center, we're going to have them on the show next week, so we'll tell you more about them. Also, the Community Service Center at 441 West Highway 303. Their magic telephone number is 264-3771. These are just a few of the organizations in Grand Prairie, Texas that help the needy. So if you have a need, call us at 264-2234 and we will share those numbers with you again. Remember the magic dates of Saturday and Sunday, December the 14th and the 15th. The King is going to be presented at the First Baptist Church in downtown Grand Prairie. It begins at 7 o'clock p.m. If you have tickets, both Saturday and Sunday will be the presentation. If you don't have tickets, the others are sold out. Please go down on Friday evening after 9 o'clock and see the dress rehearsal, and you're cordially invited to be there. And now to a very special newcomer into Grand Prairie, Texas. She hit Grand Prairie several days ago, but formally was presented to the city and to the post office department employees and to the post office hierarchy today. And Ginger Ware, we're just excited about your coming to Grand Prairie.
Thank you, Ruthie.
Wonderful. Now, Ginger, a beautiful young lady like you, would like for you to set the stage by looking out into your camera, telling us a little bit about Ginger, maybe where she was a couple of maybe or 3 years prior to coming to Grand Prairie. Then we're going to bring you into the Grand Prairie scene.
Okay. Well, Ruthie, I began my postal career in 1966 at the Terminal Annex in Dallas.
All right.
I worked there as a distribution clerk, held various positions in the Postal Service until 1976 when I was appointed postmaster of Coppell, Texas.
And that's Coppell, and it's located northwest of Grand Prairie, Texas?
Definitely. It's located it's very close to the DFW airport.
All right.
And it's between Irving and Carrollton.
Uh-huh.
Now, for the last couple of years, I've served in the Mesquite, Texas Post Office, and my latest assignment was in the Carrollton, Texas Post Office as officer in charge. That's a position where I served while the postmaster was being selected.
I see.
There was a vacancy at the time.
Mm-hmm. Well, I noticed that we had a postmaster in charge, I believe, since Joe Cantrell was our postmaster, and then we've had officers in charge, several of them in Grand Prairie, Texas, just waiting for you to come to be with us.
That's correct. The postmaster selection procedure is very lengthy and quite involved, so it does take a lot of time.
Mm-hmm. Well, we know you haven't been on hand very long, but I attended the ceremony today. I was impressed.
Well, thank you.
Oh, you had postmasters from all over the world.
I have lots of friends in the Postal Service, having been around for more years than I'd like to admit.
Yes.
Although I've already indicated that I have been in the Postal Service since 1966. There were a number of postmasters there, and I've worked in several offices in Dallas, so I do have a lot of friends, a big support group in the Postal Service.
That's wonderful. Could you give us a ballpark figure, approximately how many will be under your supervision here in Grand Prairie, Texas?
We have 182 employees in Grand Prairie.
Mm-hmm. Does that include the Westchester and the out in the Great Southwest?
The Fountain.
All of that comes under your bailiwick?
That is correct. We have 24 carriers out at the Westchester station, and we have 6 carrier routes out of the Fountain station.
Well, that's very exciting. And do you have acting people over those two stations?
We have station managers at each of those stations. Mm-hmm. And of course then at the main office we have, gosh, I've got to think for it, we have 60 city routes that deliver out of the main office, and of course there we have delivery supervisors who are in charge of those units.
Well, I was impressed with the quality and the cleanliness of your place here in Grand Prairie, Texas. I know that you're excited about coming here.
Well, thank you. I take a lot of pride in what I do and what we represent. And to me, appearance is number one, because, you know the old saying, you never get a second chance to make a good first impression.
Oh, that is great. All right, now let's find out about the real Ginger Ware.
Okay.
I know that your husband was there today and some of your children. Would you like to name drop your husband or anything about your family and name drop your kids, if that's all right?
I certainly would. My husband is Dale Ware. We've been married for 28 years. I have a son, Leslie. Leslie is in his last year of law school at SMU. Of course, I'm very proud of that.
Yes.
My daughter Deanne currently works for American Airlines as a flight attendant. Now Deanne graduated from the University of Texas in 1989, and she hopes to be accepted into graduate school this year to become a psychologist. So we're very excited about that. My parents were there today, Mr. and Miss Bradshaw. My parents live south of Grand Prairie. They live in Wilmer, Texas.
Okay.
So I'm very fortunate to have my parents with me and of course enjoy a close relationship there. I also have a sister, Margaret, who's employed at the Spring Valley Post Office in Dallas. That's correct. And then I have 4 brothers. Jim and Randy were with us today, and I have 2 other brothers, Bud and Andy.
Well, that is wonderful.
So just a great family, lots of support from my family, and it's, of course, made a big difference in my career to have their support.
Yes. Well, for just the short length of time, what do you think about Grand Prairie, Texas?
I was so pleasantly surprised when I actually came on board. Now, obviously, I did a lot of research on the office before I applied because, you know, we spend more waking moments at work than we do at home as a rule. And I had heard good reports on Grand Prairie and was excited about it. But those reports didn't do justice to the people of Grand Prairie, to the employees. In talking to the carriers, we've had to make a few little changes here and there, and I speak with the carriers, and their number one concern, just like I said today, is always the customer. And that is so rewarding, makes me feel so good, because that is, as you know, what we're all about. I haven't gotten out in the community much, but I am excited about becoming an involved member here.
Oh, that's wonderful. Well, Ginger, I just think it's so exciting. What brought you into the postmaster or to the post office field?
Well, of course, initially I went to work for the Postal Service because I was looking for some stability, I was looking for some security and a career. I worked as a distribution clerk, and I've carried mail, gone up through different phases until 1971 when I went to work at the General Post Office in Dallas. There I met a wonderful lady whose name was Mary Mendrup.
Yes.
Mary Mendrup was the first female postmaster in a large office in our division. Mary Mendrup quickly became a role model for me, and I have known her for over 20 years. Mary Mendrup was sworn in as postmaster of Grand Prairie in October of 1971. And I consider it a great honor, of course, to be able to follow her.
Yes.
So unfortunate that Mary couldn't be with us today. But Mary Mendrup inspired me.
That is
and I am so proud to be in the position that she was in 20 years ago.
Yes, and her untimely death just shook our roots because she was a member of the Seroptimist Club, and I'm a Seroptimist here in Grand Prairie, Texas.
Then you knew Mary.
Yes.
Like, well, if you knew Mary, you can understand her inspiration, and she was to many of us.
Yes. Oh, I think that's just wonderful.
Because at that time, I wasn't sure that my goal of becoming a postmaster was even realistic.
Okay.
But Mary made it seem more so to me.
Well, Mr. Joe Cantrell, who was the real postmaster prior to your time, he and I have been working on the history of Grand Prairie post office, and he has a lot of data. And about 3 years ago, I found out that the name of the Grand Prairie post office prior to it being named Grand Prairie was the Deckman. It was
Isn't
Deckman.
that interesting?
Yes, and they spelled it differently than we spell the town of Deckman. And it was so exciting. And when we dug up all of this good stuff, we had a history tape here, and we've documented all of that good stuff, and it was so wonderful. But we know you're going to do a good job here too. And what does Ginger Ware look forward to in the years to come? What do you want to become when you grow up?
Well, I want to become the best postmaster in Texas.
Yes.
I want to be known as not only an efficient person who runs or who manages a successful operation, but to be known as one who cares about the people. And when I say people, I mean the employees as well as the customers in our community.
Yes, that sounds wonderful. And if you wanted to give encouragement to some young people that may be watching our show, who knows who watches it's happening in Grand Prairie, but would you look out into your camera and talk with the young people and maybe their parents and encourage them into entering the field that you're making your career now and probably your life work, and anything you'd like to say to young people, your philosophy of life as far as that's concerned?
Okay. Well, certainly, one thing that we all have to be mindful of is anytime we start a job is that the hours aren't necessarily going to be the best in the world. The pay is certainly not exactly what we might aspire to, but I think the most important thing is that whatever job you do, be the best you can be at that particular job. And I think the thing that is most critical is don't go to work for $5 an hour, $10 an hour. Go to work for the company that you work for. I work for the U.S. Postal Service. And I think that's the difference in a lot of people. When I was hired in 1966, there were 100 of us. And I honestly can say that I went to work for the U.S. Postal Service. I did not go to work for the $264 an hour that was the prevailing wage at that time. $264. That was, of course, that was a great big part of it, but that's the key, I think, is to work for the company.
And do the best that you can.
And if you're the best you can be at what you are, then the rest comes naturally.
In doing on your research for the city of Grand Prairie, was there anything particular about this area that impressed you?
You know, I would just have to say the beauty of some of the parks was impressive to me. There's a small park, I'm embarrassed to say that I don't know the name of it, down the way, but I was just so impressed with the little things like that. That's one thing that particularly impressed me, because I fully expect to spend the rest of my career in Grand Prairie, Texas, and it was important to find some beauty. And the people just seemed very cordial, a charming group, very, I'm at a loss for words, gracious group of people in Grand Prairie.
Well, since Grand Prairie, Texas is approximately 4.5 miles wide and 22 to 25 miles long, you have a real challenge when the city of Grand Prairie is fully developed from Rock Island Railroad all the way south of Lake Joe Pool, about 10 miles, and you now have 3 post offices. I forecast for you at least 6 post offices in your career here in Grand Prairie if you're going to spend that lifetime here. And I want to really officially welcome you to Grand Prairie.
Thank you. Thank you.
I know that the mayor officially welcomed you this morning at your reception and at your inauguration today.
Right.
And before we leave, I want to wish you Godspeed.
Thank you.
Looking forward to seeing you in the good working circles of Grand Prairie, like in Seroptimist and other things like that. And we'll be back to visit with you one day.
Thanks. Thank you for inviting me.
Thank you. And this is Ruthie Jackson reminding you that it's happening in Grand Prairie.